Hey guys, Cameron with Hope2K9. If you're unfamiliar with Hope2K9 dog training, check out our website. It's hope2k9.com. You'll see down in the notes about this video a link out to our website and to our Facebook page. Check out our social media. There are more videos and posts like this with tips and tricks for training and just opportunities to follow along and understand what it is that we do at Hope2K9 and how we implement the training and tools that we're promoting. So today this video is about the prong collar. There's a lot of controversy about balance training tools, prong collars, remote collars, you name it. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about this tool simply because of propaganda, images they've seen online that are actually falsified or that are lacking information about how the animal arrived at that state based on the use or wearing of this tool. The key things to understand about the prong collar is that it is not designed to harm your dog. It's actually an ingenious invention that creates power steering for your animal. So what happens with the prong collar, and anytime that there might be any sort of injury, is that it's use. It's how the collar is used on the dog, force and extreme tension with the fit. You can absolutely create discomfort and injury to the dog if you poorly fit or abusively use this tool. That's going to be the same for anything from a hammer to a spatula. You can do a lot of damage with something that's designed to do a lot of good. It has every bit to do with the handler, the person who has that tool in their hand and whose intentions are driving the use of it. So with the prong collar's design and intention for use, it's actually an incredible tool. It's extraordinarily safe and very, very gentle to the dog when used properly. It looks a little bit formidable here because of all the parts poking out of it, but what that's actually designed to do is create even pressure around the entirety of your dog's neck. Right now, if you've got a dog who's pulling on the leash, jumping, lunging, reactive, you have no control when you pull on that flat buckle collar, right? Moreover, the dog tends to choke himself and create pressure on the windpipe, which can be much more damaging than if a prong collar is properly fit and applied and you're giving the dog gentle information of pressure and release. Even big information of pressure and release. That collar will create tension evenly around the neck and release evenly around the neck once the dog has responded. So we implement these tools in a really, really calm environment. We let the dog know about pressure and release, which is something we'll talk about in plenty of other videos, and we communicate to the dog that they turn on and off this information. It's up to them. And it just creates a way for us to have power steering on the dog, calm, smooth, clear, and consistent feedback all the way around the neck where there's evenness and not a danger to create pressure against any sensitive parts and not a struggle against information the dog can't actually hear because on that flat collar or that harness that you might be using, they're just unable to process directional information. What is it that you want me to do and where do you want me to go? Much more clear with power steering, right? So prong collars should be fit up high on the neck and relatively snug so that they don't slide down while they're in use. This is really, really important. I've seen many, many poorly fit prong collars where a collar was purchased from the store, slid over the dog's head, and then it becomes like a thug chain here, where when you pull on it, it takes a long time for the information to actually reach the dog's neck, right? So if my dog's neck is this small, and this happens all the time, and I'm trying to give him information, it's not going to be very clear on that collar because it's going to take a long time for the tension to get there. It's not going to release like it's supposed to, and the dog isn't going to feel anything based on the fact that this isn't making contact where it should and releasing, okay? So when you purchase a prong collar, you want to actually remove the links in order to make this fit properly. Prong collars are operated simply by pressing and squeezing the parts together or separate. Okay, so I'm going to wiggle this one out. If I wanted to put it back together, I would squeeze these two prong pieces here as I fit them back into the segments of their mate, all right? So one little tooth there, squeeze and press the other tooth in, and then I have it nice and locked. Because these are capable of coming apart, and they eventually will when you don't want them to, what we always advise is that you put a carabiner clip on the live ring of the collar. This is the live ring, the one that spins independently. The live ring is the one that you attach your leash to. Excuse me, I just misspoke. Your leash goes here, guys, and your carabiner goes here. This is the dead ring. Do you see how when I spin this one, it twists the chain? We don't want our leash on there. We want our carabiner clip on this ring, and the carabiner clip goes here, attached then to the dog's flat collar, which gives us a fail-safe, all right? I'll get into that again in other videos, but I just wanted to point it out briefly here. The point of this one is really to talk about what this collar does and how it should look when you fit it on the dog, because we're seeing collars much too large, they're hanging really low, and you're not getting the efficacy with the tool that you're supposed to, and that's when you start to create problems. That's when you start to do damage to the dog and damage to your communication and your relationship, because it's not being used properly and the information is not getting to the dog in the gentlest, calmest, most effective way, okay? I'm going to have Bosley help me here to demo the fit of a prong collar. Bosley, come here, bud. Bosley, come. Come here, buddy. Good boy. So I'm going to just scooch him right up here and try to get him on camera. And I'll adjust, good boy, I'll adjust the camera lens here so that you can see better, okay? Good job, buddy. I'm going to try anyway. There we go. So we've got Bosley here, and I have already fit this collar to him. It was too large, so I took a couple of links out. It's a 3mm Hermspringer prong collar. This is the brand that we prefer and the one that we use with our training clients here at Hope2K9. We do that because we like the way that this is designed. It's smooth and rounded on the edges. It's not sharp. They just do a really nice job of finishing on this collar, where a lot of your knockoffs, your lesser cost or lower quality brand collars will actually have sharper points that irritate the skin, and the metals and the coatings will be something that rubs off on the dog. Sit, bud. And you'll tend to have more staining. This dog has worn a prong collar many times before, though he's now e-collar trained, so he doesn't need one. He's actually so well trained, doesn't need much of anything. But he no longer needs to wear one. However, in the past, when he's worn a prong collar, again, white dog, a lot of the cheap metals will rub off on the dog. The Hermspringer collar has not done that for us, okay? So I'm just gonna show you here a little demo of how this should fit. You want the prong to be nice and snug, high up on the neck. And you want to make sure that your mechanism here for your leash is on top, okay? I'm going to have you scoot forward. Come here, buddy. Come forward. Good boy. You're so good. Sits. Good job. Okay, so we want the prong collar chains to be up top here. This is that dead ring where you're going to put a carabiner clip, so it goes underneath here so that it can connect to the dog's flat buckle collar. And then this is our live ring here where our leash is going to connect, all right? Now, nice and high up on the neck here, there's a little bit of space between this dog's skin and the collar, right? So I can still put my fingers under there, which means when it's in its resting position, it's not irritating the skin, it's not poking in, it's not causing him any risk of injury or indentations in his skin. A lot of this propaganda that goes around about this collar makes it seem as though just simply applying the tool will cause that harm to the dog's neck, and that is absolutely not true, guys. If it's fit properly, it's going to rest here but stay in a higher up seated position, and then when you have to activate it and give information to the dog, it releases instantly upon releasing the leash tension, all right? So pop on the leash, and then again the collar goes back to that resting position. The only way you're going to create damage here and harm your dog, guys, is if you're constantly super tight on that collar, which is inappropriate, or if you're really abusive in your leash maneuvers and you're grating that collar against the dog's skin, right? You do not want to do that. We do not advocate for that. However, properly fit and properly utilized and removed when the dog is napping, crated, resting, playing with other dogs. Never ever want to leave a prong collar on when your dog is playing with another dog. They could hook a tooth here and become injured. If it's used properly and with all of those with all of those rules in mind, you're not going to have those injury risks that, a lot of these anti-prong collar people would like you to think that you will, all right? So it has every bit to do with how you fit it, how you use it, and what your intention is. And when this tool is used properly, it just gives us incredible access to communication with our dog, information that's at a higher volume than with a flat collar or a harness or some of these other mechanisms that are out there that are so very limiting to the dog. The harnesses that a lot of people choose to apply to their dog create a lot of torque. They can do a lot of damage to the dog, actually on a very systemic level, creating a need for chiropractic adjustments and skin irritations and burns, because you've got dogs lunging, pulling, dragging, and then the side harness that pulls is torquing the body every time there's any kind of resistance on it. So a lot more damage can be done from something like that, especially with dogs who repeatedly pull, repeatedly drag, repeatedly jump, and have torque against that tool, than something like a prong collar, which can speak softly. It has value to the dog. We can fit and use it in a way that has the softest amount of information required. We definitely choose e-collar here as our primary tool because it's even better than the rest. It gives us the calmest, gentlest, softest form of communication with our dogs, but you'll also often see us use the prong and the e-collar together. And the reason for that is because e-collars or remote collars don't have any directional pressure. They have pressure, they have information for the dog to do something, but they don't offer directional pressure. When you have a prong collar on a dog, you can give the dog information about what direction you want the body to move. So the combination of the two are really fantastic. Particularly here, we'll use them maybe in the first week of training until the dog becomes off-leash reliable, and then they're on e-collar only, remote collar only, and no prong required. But it very much depends on the dog. If you have a highly reactive dog or a dog who's going to take a nice long while to really rehabilitate and overcome a lot of behavioral patterns, you're going to want to keep something like a prong collar on with the remote collar, just in case you run into an issue of bum rushed by a dog on the street or a cat runs in front of you. That power steering, that directional pressure is a fail-safe for you. It's a backup mechanism so that you can be comfortable and confident that you can maneuver your dog in a crisis or in an emergency situation and keep them at a nice calm level, in addition to using your remote collar if that's applicable. All right, so we just wanted to share with you about the prong collar today. I wanted to give you some base information to understand it. It's a fantastic tool. My dogs obviously are, he's just gone to sleep here, not at all afraid of it or stressed out by it. They understand that it means that they should calm down, relax, work, pay attention. It has all of those associations. This tool should be fit properly, sit nice and high up on the neck, and be one that stays in position and doesn't sag down when you're working with it. So if you start to get out and work with a dog and the collar seems like it's sagging down too far, remove another link and then put it back on your dog. All right, some dogs are going to be in between sizes, and you may find that removing a link, it becomes too tight, adding one, it becomes too loose. One option would be to go down to the 2.25 millimeter size, a smaller prong collar, but add more links to it. Oftentimes that will solve the in-between fit for some of these dogs, or some of these dogs with the structure like my boxer boys, where there's just a lot of skin and jowl there, lot of substance to get through, and that causes that collar to adjust if it's at all too big. All right, so I hope this is helpful for you guys. Leave us some comments if you found some great information here, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more information about our training tips and tricks here. Have a great day.